Hey guys, welcome to my May 21st DVD update. I show you all the DVDs and Blu-rays that I've gotten over the past, I think it's been about two and a half weeks or so. But anyway though, I've got a whole bunch of stuff to show in this update. And the first Blu-ray I got is from Magnolia Entertainment, and it's Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie. And I think I've only seen like one or two clips of Tim and Eric, and a lot of the Tim and Eric people have been in the Bart Baker YouTube videos lately, like the one with the cats and stuff. I love his YouTube stuff; it's great. But the Tim and Eric movie, basically, it starts off with the Tim and Eric characters, and they got $1 billion to make this movie, and they only ended up shooting like 8 minutes of it or something, and they got this guy that looked like Johnny Depp, and it was really fun at the opening, and they ended up basically not completing the movie. They said it was only 8 minutes, so the people that they made the movie for are basically like saying, we're going to kill you if you don't get our money back. So they try and figure out what the hell they're going to do to get back their money, and they end up seeing an ad on TV with Will Ferrell's character going, you want to make $1 billion? Run my mall. And it's like this, done real 80s style. So they think, oh, yeah, we can do this. We can, go out to the middle of nowhere to run this mall. I couldn't tell where they shot it. If it was, I'm thinking it was some old closed down mall. But it was like one of those cool old malls. So they end up going there, and the place is a dump. And Will Ferrell's character is basically a nutcase. And I think that he keeps, like, when they come in there, to work there, he's like makes them watch Top Gun again and again. But basically, though, they end up getting stuck at this mall. Will Ferrell's character leaves. The place is a total dump, with people living in it, homeless people in it. John C. Reilly sort of plays this crazy guy who was left in the mall as a child. John C. Reilly definitely steals the show in the movie. I thought he was really good. I've always liked John C. Reilly. It's really funny when you think about how he started out doing real super serious kind of dramas, and then has now moved into being a really, doing a lot of comedies. But the basic idea is, though, them trying to get this mall off the ground, trying to get it going with hopes of making $1 billion to try and get the money back. There's a lot of really good cameos in this too. I really like this a lot. Like I said, though, I definitely want to watch some of the episodes of the show, and the shrimp sequence in this was really, I don't know. All in all, though, I like this a lot. The next one I got is from Fox, and it's the Chronicle. And it has the director's cut version of the film. Now, the writer of this movie, he wrote, and I'm pretty sure it was him, he wrote he's John Landis' son, and he wrote the Deer Woman for the Massive Horror, which I really liked. I thought that was one of the best Massive Horror segments. And I think he was at Comic-Con there the one year talking about it, back then. So I was really happy to see he got this, and I know they're doing the sequel. But the basic idea is about this sort of loner kid who no one really likes, and he got a camera, and he's basically like going to do a documentary filming everything that happens to him. And when he's at a party, he ends up seeing these two kind of popular kids and stuff that say, oh, we need your camera, we found this thing. So he ends up going out into the woods, and they end up finding this crater out in the woods, and they end up going down into the thing, and they touch this thing, and they end up having these powers. Now, I thought this was a very good, different found footage movie, because all the found footage things have really been, there's been some horror ones and things like this. This was a little different, and like when they would go to segments where if they went in someone's house, and there was a point where there really wasn't access to the camera, then they'd use scenes from the person's cell phone camera and things like that. But the basic idea, though, is the kids end up getting the power, and the loner one basically ends up taking it too far and basically going crazy. And the ending to this movie is really good. All in all, though, for a found footage movie, I thought this was a really good, different one. And like I said, I really am looking forward to seeing what they do with the sequel. And the other thing they did too was he was able to move the camera, so he was able to film himself because he could make the camera float. And I thought that was kind of a cool aspect to it. The next one I got, this is one that I wanted to see from Fox, and it's This Means War. And for some reason I thought it was that, the one guy, and it wasn't him. But when I saw the trailer, I don't know why at first I kept on thinking it was that Channing Tatum in it. But the other guy, Chris Pine, was from the Star Trek, remake movie, or Star Trek movie. But the basic idea is these two guys that work for the CIA. It opens with them on this case, and they end up screwing up, and they end up letting someone get away, so they end up getting put on desk duty. So they're basically we got to try and get some dates and stuff like that. So they end up signing up, the one character ends up signing up on a Match.com kind of thing, same time Reese Witherspoon does. So they end up seeing each other, And then the date goes pretty well, and then at the same time, the friend ends up meeting Reese Witherspoon in this kind of cool video store. You know, knowing me, you know me of movies and stuff, I was thinking, where the hell did they film that? But they end up meeting each other, so they basically end up both dating the same woman. So it ends up becoming, their friendship ends up getting sort of, you know, tested, and they're all both saying, oh, we'll see who wins and see who she chooses. So it ends up becoming all these, you know, issues and stuff. I did like the director's cut version a little bit better, or the extended version, because as far as I could tell, there was a really funny scene with the one guy who was the boss in Waiting, and the one British woman who was in Bridesmaids. I think she was in Bridesmaids. And a couple, like, it was like a real quick scene, but it was funny. So definitely watch that version of it. The next one is an exclusive to, sorry if I'm sweating, it's a little hoot in the garage, and I know everyone says put a fan on, but then you hear, but this one, a lot of people dislike this movie, but you know, Best Buy is the only one that has the Blu-ray of it. I did notice though they didn't put any features on it, but I guess it's supposed to be like it's real. It wasn't. But I don't know. I like this Devil Inside movie. I didn't really hate it. A lot of people, you know, were going on that it wasn't that great, but it's basically, I don't remember exactly what happens. Like, they were doing this documentary on like the religions and stuff like that. They end up going to interview the one's mother who was possessed, and all these bad things happen. But I don't know. I think people should give this one a shot. I did like it. The next one I got from IFC, and this one was really, really good. This is one of the ones where, you know, I feel like, well, it could pretty much be on one of my top favorite lists. And I have not heard a whole lot about this. And I think it must have gone to theaters, but really limited. And it's called Perfect Sense. And it has Ewan McGregor and Eva Green, who's right now in the remake of Dark Shadows. She did really, really good in this. The movie's basically about the end of the world, you know, a different kind of type of end of the world. And Ewan McGregor works in a restaurant as a chef. Eva Green's character is this doctor in a hospital. And in the beginning of the movie, something happens, and there start being people who start to lose their ability to smell. And the way it happens is, you know, and this goes on throughout the movie with these different ways things happen, but it starts with people crying having the worst cry of their lives. And the montages they put together in this thing are amazing. But they end up, basically, Ewan McGregor's character and Eva Green's character end up meeting kind of right at the beginning of all this. And she doesn't really like him at first, but then they end up really starting to see each other through all these times. And Ewan McGregor's character, who's a chef, like, it shows how when everyone in the world loses their sense, then how they have to make all the food real salty and way sweeter because no one can smell it. So it's very interesting, and then it goes on through other senses being lost. And you know that by the trailer, and I'm not going to ruin, you know, what does and doesn't happen in it. But this one was so good, and if you like end-of-the-world movies, you like character studies, this was, I mean, I'm not lying, this is so beyond such a good movie that I couldn't even believe it after I watched it. It's one of those movies that you just think about. The next one I got from Lionsgate is One for the Money, and it's Katherine Heigl movie, and it was basically her as she loses her job, and I think it was like at Macy's or a place like that, and she ends up getting a job at this kind of crappy bounty hunting job. And the person she has to find, one of the biggest cases to get all the money, was her old ex-boyfriend. So it ends up being all this to do on trying to find the ex-boyfriend, and then she really, you know, can't really bring him in. And at the same time, she ends up wrapped up in a thing going on with the ex-boyfriend. So it's like, she ends up in more trouble than it's worth going through all this thing. And there's a lot of good cameos in this too. The one guy who was in Short Circuit, both the Short Circuit films, has a real small part in this. I always liked that actor. And there's a couple other different people who had cameos. So this was a really fun movie though. The next one I got from Well Go USA, and it's a 3D one from the director of The Grudge. And I think it's the American Grudge movie, I think. And it's called Shock Labyrinth, and it's basically based on a ride that they have in Japan, which I'd like. I don't know if I could go through it or not. It seems, I'm always sort of scared shitless of those haunted houses. But it's like this, these kids went there as kids, and something bad happened, and one of their friends went missing. And years later, the friend can't come back, and they end up going back to this place where it all happened. and things start going on, and they start seeing things. It was a cool 3D horror film. I like, I have a 3D TV, so I really like to see, all the 3D stuff. The next one I got is from Shout Factory, and it's a double feature with The Traveler and Telling Lies in the USA. And the one on here I really loved, and I think I might have seen it on like HBO or something years ago, and it's The Traveler with Mark Wahlberg and Bill Paxton. And it's basically, Bill Paxton's character is kind of a scam artist. He lives in kind of a commune, kind of with like, I don't know what you would call them, like gypsies or something. And they end up, Bill Paxton's character basically buys trailers for like $3,000, sells them for $12,000. They're basically crap heaps, but he kind of fixes them up to look like they're okay. And that's basically what he does, is he's always scamming people out of money from all these things. And Mark Wahlberg's character comes back to the community because his father, who used to be a member of it or something happened, died. So he goes up coming back because he has nowhere to live. And he ends up becoming friends with Bill Paxton's character, and they end up running these schemes together and things like that. And that was a really cool one, though. The next one I got, it's the only place I could find this on the Blu-ray version. It was a good price, is Mother's Day, and I got it at Walmart. And it's the remake of Mother's Day, and it's a real loose remake, because the original remake was like an really old woman and out in the woods and these real crazy sons. These sons are way more normal in this. I really like this, though. It starts off with these 3 sons, and the one was shot, and they end up going to the old house where they lived, and they think that their family's still there. They don't realize that the mother and sister were kicked out of the house because they couldn't pay their bills. So they end up coming in this house, and there's a party going on in there, and they basically are just like lunatics in there. And then the mother comes and things like that. This was a cool one, though. And for remake, like the original Mother's Day, I used to like that, but it wasn't like an all-time favorite. This one, though, really was really cool, and the mother really is nuts in this. But like I said, though, instead of being like a real old woman, it was just sort of like a 50-some-year-old woman. But this was definitely one to watch. And the next one I got is from BBC, and it's the first and second season of the show Sherlock. And it's basically a modern-day version of the Sherlock Holmes series. And, I don't know a whole lot about them. I never saw, like, the newer movies of them. But it's basically, like, it has the same kind of vibe as Dexter and things like that. And it's them trying to solve cases. And the one character, Watson, was, like, someone who was in the war and sort of is trying to get his life together. And I don't know, I thought this was a pretty interesting show, though. I only watched, like, through a couple episodes, but it definitely has, like, a Dexter kind of feel to it. And I know that it's got... it's doing really pretty well. I think they're going to do, I saw they're now going to do an American Sherlock Holmes show, and it's going to be like, I think it's going to be female or something like that. I saw something like that. The next one I got is an exclusive, another Best Buy exclusive I got, and it's The Road Trip. And, this is one of the ones I remember is, in middle school and stuff, really loving. And this was a really fun one, like they end up, like I think the tape, like the one character films like the sex tape and ends up getting out there, and I think he tries to find it. They made another movie that was kind of like that called, I think, Overnight Delivery. Very similar idea too, but this was a really fun one though with Tom Green. And the next ones I got are from Redemption Films, and the first, and I got 3 different ones. I got the Requiem for a Vampire. I'm trying to remember I don't want to, like some of these kind of blend together a little bit. This one was basically about, it starts with these girls in the car chase thing going on. You don't really know what's going on, and they end up, the car ends up breaking down. They end up going to hide out in a cemetery to try and hide from people after them. And they never really get into, why everything like that was going on. But they end up hiding out in the cemetery, and then they end up going to kind of like a mausoleum out in the middle of nowhere. And when they're out there, they end up basically stumbling upon like this vampire thing. So they end up getting bitten, and they end up the next morning, they try and leave, and they basically just keep on being in the same place. So if they go out of the woods, they end up back in the same spot again. And then the one character ends up being this guy that she likes, and, but then he's, they want her to kill him and things like that. This, though, basically the girls, though, are turned into vampires to lure people into the mausoleum so the other vampires can kill them. All in all, though, this was a pretty good one. Out of the Gene Roland movies, this is one of the ones I liked a lot. The next one was Rape of the Vampire. I think this is the first Gene Roland film, and this was this one I had a hard time getting into. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. For life of me, I cannot remember what happened in this one. But the next one, like I said, they blend together because they're very similar plots and blend together. Demonicus, though, I do remember this. It was about a group of these sort of sailors that, not really sailors, they're like, I think they're pirates that basically crash ships and steal the things from them. They basically have to make the ships crash into rocks. And when they're out there, they see these two girls, and they end up, attacking the girls and leaving them for dead. And I think they thought they killed them, and they didn't. So then they all start seeing these images of the girls, and they're all basically freaked out. So then they end up going back to where it all happened, and they see the girls. So they're chasing them, and then the girls run off into another kind of graveyard thing. And there's like a clown. There's all this weird stuff going on. I don't know. I like the Gene Roland movies, but like I said, they can be sometimes very difficult to explain because they're all very similar, especially the vampire ones. The next one, and this is one that I ordered. I paid a little overpriced for it because it went out of print. But I have been wanting to buy this for a long time. And I was thinking, like, I should have bought it when it was, like, on sale at Best Buy before it went out of print. And it's the Midnight Express. I think it's the digibook version, so it's got the book and everything. I don't know. For some reason, I've always really liked this movie. It's this guy who's in, I think it was like Turkey, I think. And he ends up trying to steal marijuana. And he ends up strapping it to himself and things like that. And thinks he's going to get away with it. And he ends up being caught. So then he's like going to get it. They're going to let him go if he points out who it was that sold him the marijuana. So when he's there pointing out the cab driver that did it, he basically freaks out and runs. And because he does that, he gets caught again, and he ends up being put into jail. And he ends up being put in there for 5 years, and it ends up becoming a life thing. And it shows him there. And I'm not going to say if he does or doesn't get out, but it is a really good story. And I think the movie won an Academy Award for music, and it was one of the first movies to win Academy Awards where the music was all synth. The music is really good synth music. The next one from Focus Films, and it's a documentary. It's not really sort of it's an actual movie, not like a documentary itself, though. But it's on the story of Boy George from Culture Club. This was a really good one, and the guy that they got to play the young Boy George really, really looked like him. Like, they did really good casting of making this guy look like him, and it basically showed his early days of when he was doing fashion things and trying to figure out what he was going to do with his life, and all the kinds of relationship issues that he went with and the people that he was with and things like that. And then it cuts into right at the time when he got what he wanted in his career and everything, but it was starting to fall apart because of his first drug problem. I think it was like 88 or 89. So it goes back and forth between, when he's starting out and things are starting to really happen for him to when things really fell apart. But all in all, though, this was a really good one. And the next ones I got from the History Channel, and these are some of my favorite shows. These come out the 6th of June, and it's American Pickers Season 3. And, I've been watching this since this first started. And it's Mike and Frank, Mike and Frank Fritz. Now, the intros in the new seasons are changed a little bit. Some people might have noticed how now they don't say, and the people we meet. Now it's more about, the stuff they get. But they're these two pickers that basically they go to, pretty much for the most part, the people's houses they go to are like extreme hoarders. Like, you could do a hoarder show at these locations too, showing how much stuff these people have. But they have like all kinds of old farm things and old bikes, and they basically buy stuff that you would normally think is total crap, like old rusted up bikes and old motorcycles and old car parts and things like that, and they buy them cheap and then triple their money and things like that, and sometimes do really, really well. But this is a really fun show. I don't know, I've always liked this show. There's that one show now, American Diggers, and the one guy that's like Frank, looks like a fatter Frank. I always think that. The next one I got is from History as well, and it's Pawn Stars Volume 4. And I think this show's going to be on for a while. I love this show, Chumley. And it's basically a show about a pawn shop. They've done a lot of them now. There's a couple different Pawn Star shows. This is still the best one. There's Hardcore Pawn, and there's like that Cajun Pawn one, and there's a couple different ones, Auction Kings, which are all kind of the same thing. This was the first, and this is definitely the best of them. And it's about a family, who runs this pawn shop, and then Charmny, and they're basically the things they buy, and they, bring in items and talk about the things like that. And, this is a one I've been watching, like I said, since the beginning. Really good one. Next ones are from Travel Channel, and this is really pretty cool one. I remember seeing this kind of stuff done, like maybe once or twice as a kid when I went to Ocean City. I hadn't seen a lot of this kind of stuff done here, and it's carving things with sand. And the one that I liked was the one at Legoland. They were making the Star Trek thing. Sorry, you don't want to mess that up. Star Wars thing. And it's basically about a group of these people that make these like extreme sand things. And like I always thought it was kind of funny if they were doing it, if like some kid jumped in, like some bad kid, at least for like a joke on one of them, and like just smashed it. Like I wonder what they would do, because these are like extreme things. But it's them like going to all these different places to, like, there's one at the aquarium, things like that, and they're all doing these things to promote things, and they're only really meant to be up for like a couple days. The one at Legoland though was supposed to be permanent, so I guess they must have put something on it to make it so it lasted. The next one is the Anthony Bourdain's new show, The Layover, and it's him basically going to these different places and showing what you could do if you were there for like a little short layover, like maybe a day or two, or if you had like a short trip. And I will say the one when he goes to Los Angeles, I agree with a lot of the things he went to. Like a lot of the food, I have never been to those places, but he went to like the toy store and the gallery that he went to, and the one place like with those weird animals and things like that. He went to a lot of places I really agree with. And the thing that's different with him and a lot of other like travel shows when they show other places is he's kind of dirty, and he's kind of more almost like I don't know, he just sort of says what he wants and doesn't really care. And he's definitely not like a PG kind of guy going to all these places. But it's basically showing you places you can eat, worthwhile stores to go to, and things like that. I don't know, I have not seen a lot of his stuff, but really like this. Now the final ones I got, and this one I was really happy to see this came out. I think they're actually having another season of it. And it was on like 2 or 3 years ago, and it's Barbecue Pitmasters. And I like this because it was like this weird guy, I think Myron, and I don't even really eat barbecue food, but it's like about these competitions and stuff. And for some reason, I've always really liked these kind of shows. They're real like chill out kind of things, but it's them trying to do the best of the barbecue and to try and win these competitions, things like that. And if you like that kind of stuff, and like I said, this was on like 2 years ago, and as far as I can tell, it's coming back. Now the last ones I got are some Discovery top sets, and it's the Man vs. Wild top set. And I will say, out of all the people, that do these kind of like out in the wild things, there's Survivor Man, which is another good one. But see, he's just sort of himself with a camera. He actually has a big crew and things like that. But he goes out there, and like it was doing the top thing, and the one was like real disgusting, like he was drinking water out of Elephant Duke. And like the other one was like when he just about got killed running out of he's running out of a tunnel, things like that. And also has some of the actual episodes, but the top 25 ones was cool. The other one is the Dirty Jobs collection. And every time I think of Mike Rowe, though, I always think of Ernest. Mike Rowe has a real Ernest P. Worrell look. Like if I ever saw him, I would be very hard to resist saying that to him, that you really remind me of Ernest. And there's the one unfinished Ernest film, so I think they could, have him play the Ernest in it. But this basically is some of the kind of specials where he talks about the episodes and some of his favorite moments and some of the dirtiest things he's done and things like that. This is a really fun show, though. And the last one I got is the Mythbusters collection with Buster's Biggest Crashes. And this one has the Mega Movie Myths, which is a really good one, talking about myths from movies and showing if there's actually any truths to these things. And I've been watching, this is another one that I've been watching. I think it was like one of the first, as far as I can remember, like first kind of shows like this that I watched back in like 2003 or 2002, something like that. Anyway, though, that's all the DVDs and Blu-rays I've got this month, in the last 2 weeks, and I'll see you guys later in probably about 2.5 weeks. Okay.